So 4 years ago today, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were crisscrossing the country in the race for the presidency. Seems like a very different time, doesn't it? Today, though, we are exactly 5 months away from Election Day, which goes pretty fast. And given what we've been doing, it's probably about 30 news cycles from now as well. So we've got brand new Fox polls tonight to show you as we take the temperature of battleground states, Arizona, Ohio, and Wisconsin. Joe Biden has the edge in all three. In Ohio, it is a toss-up with Biden ahead by just 2 points. In Arizona, he is ahead by 4 points. The gap is the widest in Wisconsin, where Joe Biden leads by 9 points. Joining me now, Guy Benson, host of The Guy Benson Show and political editor at townhall.com, and Marie Harf, executive director of Serve America PAC and former State Department spokesperson. Both are Fox News contributors. Good to see both of you tonight.
Hey, Martha.
Marie, your quick take. Hey there. Your quick take on these numbers, as I said, are probably about 30 news cycles away from the actual election.
At least, and you're right, so much can happen between now and November, but the trends are all going in Joe Biden's direction. Joe Biden is beating Donald Trump by more than Hillary Clinton was 4 years ago. He's running ahead of her. And I don't think that Joe Biden is probably going to win a state like my home state of Ohio. I hope he does. But because he's competitive in states like that, where Hillary really wasn't, it will force Donald Trump and Republicans to spend money there. So the fact that Joe Biden is winning across the board in states like Wisconsin, and that Donald Trump's supporters in the Senate in places like Arizona, we see in this poll that the Republican is losing by double digits to the Democratic candidate Mark Kelly. This is troubling for Republicans, and this should be a bit of a wake-up call as we head into the election, which is, as you said, 5 months from today.
Yeah. So, Guy, let's take a look at this as we put it up on the screen. These are the issues. Who do you trust to do a better job on? And this is Arizona. As we take a look, Trump wins on the economy by 7 points. It's pretty remarkable what the stock market's been doing in the face of everything. Very optimistic. So, and the bounce back for the economy at least appears to be on a basically good track, which is also pretty shocking given what's been going on over the past several days. Immigration down by 1 point, coronavirus down by 7, and then on race issues, the president is down by 16. What's your takeaway from this?
Well, I think it's hard to sugarcoat these numbers from our Fox News polling in these crucial states, right? The state of Ohio that Marie just mentioned and Arizona were relatively comfortably red states in 2016. Wisconsin was one of those 3 big surprises in the Midwest, the so-called blue wall that toppled down and allowed Trump to win the presidency. And ever since then, he has usually been strongest in Wisconsin compared to the other 2. Michigan and Pennsylvania. He's down substantially in this poll in the Badger State. So, look, you're right. We're a long way off from the election day. We have no idea what the news cycles to come will bring us, and I'm not even going to try to guess. But I'm not terribly surprised that you have an incumbent sitting in the middle of an economic, let's say, time of trouble, for sure, to put it, I think, very lightly, a global pandemic with more than 100,000 Americans dead, and now race riots in the streets. Some of that is totally beyond his control, certainly, and not his fault. Some of it in the way he reacts to it and controls and manages it is his fault. And that confluence of factors is going to be tough on any incumbent who's facing those types of headwinds. The question is, do people start to feel better on those fronts in the coming months? Let's check back in September, October, same states, same issue.
Right. So I want to take a look at Wisconsin. Are you motivated to vote in the election? Because this is something that the president really prides himself on in terms of drumming up his voters and bringing them out. And in this read, extremely motivated to vote, you've got Biden supporters at 71%, Trump supporters at 63%, Marie. And it does raise the question from what Guy is touching on here in terms of how Trump supporters are feeling, those on the margins perhaps, as all of this plays out.
Absolutely. There are 2 really important numbers I'm looking at right now. One is the enthusiasm number you just mentioned. And Joe Biden beating Donald Trump by that much on enthusiasm in a state like Wisconsin is a very telling sign. So that's certainly one thing I look at. The other number we should look at is independence, because Donald Trump's theory of the case has always been shore up his base. He doesn't need to expand his coalition, but shore up the base and try and pick off some independents. We've seen independents consistently moving away from Donald Trump. And if that trend continues, again, this is a warning sign that Republicans, and particularly the president, should be very concerned about, Martha.
And remember, he won independents last time.
Let me go to. Yes, he did, and also late deciders, which is one of the biggest issues. And as I said, we're a long way away from that. You know, Guy, as you look at this, you know, and you look at the base, and you look at the question of whether or not they will come out, and the enthusiasm. I mean, those enthusiasm numbers across the board aren't that high in terms of what we have seen in some cases. Joe Biden will struggle, I think, against some of what we're seeing in some of the blue states or these cities across the country in terms of how this is being handled. And the president's going to come out with a law and order message. So how do you see that dynamic playing out, especially if these tensions continue?
It's tough because on some level you can make the case that Trump is the law and order guy. He's going to bring order to the streets, restore some sense of stability by, if necessary, bringing in the military to assist with police. And if these riots continue, polling shows the American people are open to that because they won't tolerate their cities being burned to the ground. I think that's pretty basic. On the other hand, if he's presiding over chaos, and a lot of voters decide this is a man of chaos, this is an administration of chaos, and we're tired of it, Joe Biden, the nickname is Sleepy, like Sleepy Joe Biden, might for some of those people actually seem like a relatively safe harbor, and it could cut in the other direction. I'm not sure we know which way some of these undecided voters are going to go, and it's going to depend, again, this is not rocket science, on events and what actually plays out.
Well, we've had coronavirus.
Absolutely.
We've had an absolutely crushed economy that is now on the rebound, apparently, and it might be even a V-shaped recovery if what we are seeing so far continues. And then on top of it, you've got this beginning of what could be a very long, hot summer. Marie, thank you very much for being here. Guy, always a pleasure. Thanks, you guys.
Of course.